Singapore will be holding its second by-election in less than a year. In the run-up to the Punggol East by-election, a heartfelt message from the son of Punggol.
At the end of the day, if the residents feel that I'm not the best person, please do not give me any sympathy votes.
The silence is broken and a familiar face revealed. And a coalition proposition that raised eyebrows.
We are disappointed that we were unable to get together with the WP.
It might have gotten off to a quiet start, but political pundits say this is a by-election to watch.
For the PAP, I suppose the stakes are higher. A by-election win would also show that that they have perhaps made inroads, with regards to trying to deal with many of the hot-button issues in the May 2011 general elections.
This by-election does reflect the thinking, the sentiments of the population of Singapore going forward.
35-year-old Daniel Kalai is one of over 30,000 Singaporeans who has been plunged into an electoral contest he didn't expect. This senior manager in the automobile industry moved into this 4-room flat at Punggol East 2 years ago with his wife.
There's a need and hustle and bustle. You can see, you talk to some people at the lobbies, they are looking forward to election. And it's not no longer just a national election, it's a local election. So generally, my neighbours are more excited about it.
Punggol East used to be part of the larger Pasir Ris Punggol, but it was carved out as a single-member constituency, or SMC, during the 2011 general elections. Most of the flats here are new, built after 1997 as part of the Punggol 21 plan. Residents are generally younger. They are also relatively more well-off, with 80% living in 4- or 5-room flats.
There are quite a large number of young, educated, mobile residents who have moved there. They may want to vote ideologically, meaning they feel that since there's a government in place, we want to see more representation. There are others who also feel that perhaps if this is brought about by indiscretion on the part of their elected member from the PAP, some may want to perhaps punish them.
Analysts say the electorate in Punggol East is quite different from the electorate in Hougang, where last year's by-election was held. The by-election was held after incumbent Member of Parliament, or MP, Yaw Shin Leong, quit the Workers' Party after a sex scandal. In Hougang, which was the Workers' Party's stronghold for over 20 years, residents had a close relationship with the party's chief, Lau Tia Kiang. Punggol East residents may not feel that opposition representation in Parliament would be dependent on their vote.
I don't think any one of the residents or some of my neighbours whom I spoke to, they don't feel pressurised that they are carrying a national burden. If anything, this was a single ward, and I don't think even having one person would really make a difference. But having someone that is able to understand us and to fight for some of those issues, I think that will be the tip.
While Punggol East is considered a modern town, it still has its share of infrastructure problems. Residents are concerned with overcrowded LRT services and insufficient amenities like childcare facilities.
We also realize that the amount of facilities available is also limited, and there's a lot of young parents in this estate. There's a lot of competition because there's so many people applying in the same estate. So sometimes it's difficult for us when we try to apply for play school for our son. We were waitlisted for a long time just before we can get into the place, and times we couldn't get into the slot that we wanted. Yeah.
Even parking woes at the local level are an issue.
So as you can see, this is the car park, which is shared not only by the residents who live in my estate, but also by the 3 religious institutions. So on weekday nights and most of the weekends, the car park is quite challenging because when you want to leave or want to get in, there's only one entry point, about 2 exit points.
By and large, I would like to think that residents do still vote their candidates based on how they can improve their lives. And education, transportation, cost of living, the area, the surrounding area, environment around them.
And as far as the People's Action Party or PAP's candidate is concerned, this election is about how he will deal with municipal concerns.
This is an estate with a lot of young families, young children, just like mine. And I think one of the things that we can seriously look into would be to improve facilities for childcare, things that will solve logistic problems for families with young children struggling to make ends meet.
The PAP are trying to focus voters on the local issues, and I think this is where they believe that they can convince voters that they are best placed to deal with the local issues. The opposition, not surprisingly, will try to draw attention, and they have draw attention to national issues. The point here is that national issues do have local manifestations, and local issues do reflect national issues. So I think ultimately there will be national issues because these are issues like cost of living, healthcare costs, immigration, transport issues. These are national issues that affect voters in Punggol East regularly. So we should not expect national issues to recede into the background. But for a party to do well, they would need to address both local as well as national issues.
For my mother-in-law who stays with us, who talks a lot with her neighbours, cost of living is a big issue. When you want to buy groceries, it's expensive and cost just goes up. The second issue would be national health care. My father-in-law just passed away 1 month ago, and he died of terminal disease. And of course, we also experienced a fair bit of cost which was involved. And sometimes it makes us fearful as parents and of our kids and family members what the cost would be like in the future.
After the break,
a fresh face, is something that I think could work to PAP's advantage.
On January 26th, over 30,000 residents of Punggol East will be heading to the polls again. In the 2011 general elections, this new constituency was contested by People's Action Party's Michael Palmer, the Workers' Party's Li Lian, and the Singapore Democratic Alliance's Desmond Lim. 43-year-old Michael Palmer emerged the crowd favourite. Lee had to settle for second place with 41% of the valid votes. Barely 18 months into the job, Palmer resigned abruptly.
I am deeply sorry for letting down the residents of Punggol East.
The reason? An extramarital affair. While Palmer's tenure as Member of Parliament for the SMC, or single-member constituency, was relatively short-lived, he has been credited for his efficiency. He oversaw the upgrading of Rivervale Plaza, one of the 2 shopping hubs in the area. While the work was delayed as the main contractor went bust, the project is on track to be completed in June. Palmer also improved transport services by upgrading the LRT system from 1-car to 2-car trains.
He has done a good job in understanding the needs of the people. And often, some of my neighbours have told me some of the issues that are brought up through the MPS have been addressed fairly good.
Whoever is going to take over isn't actually taking over a mess. It's actually quite a good SMC to take over.
Within a month of Palmer's resignation, Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong called for a by-election. Analysts say that it was sooner than expected. When Member of Parliament Yaw Shin Leong was expelled from the Workers' Party in February 2012, it took the government slightly more than 3 months to hold a by-election for Hougang.
I think here PM is recognizing that he has a moral obligation, to the voters of Punggol East. Punggol East being a PAP-held ward. And the fact that the seat was vacated in less than good circumstances means that the PAP will want to show that they are keeping faith with the voters by giving them an opportunity to have their own elected representative in Parliament. So although the law doesn't require the Prime Minister to call for a by-election, the fact that the Prime Minister has acted swiftly within a shorter time line than the one for the Hougang by-election, I think would be something that would go down well with voters.
The day after the by-election was announced, the PAP was the first to introduce its candidate, 40-year-old colorectal surgeon Dr. Koh Po Koon. A fresh face to the party, this is Dr. Koh's first political contest.
Would they want to field a candidate, who have contested elsewhere in previous by-election or general elections but lost? I think that's not something that they want to offer to the voters of Punggol East. So a fresh face, is something that I think could work to PAP's advantage. So I think a choice of a new candidate, it makes sense. Particularly when Dr. Koh, having gotten off to an early start, has actually established himself, to be someone who's willing to speak his mind, someone who relates well to the ground because of his language fluency in different languages and dialects. And I would say that although he may be new to Punggol East, he seems to have settled down very quickly. He has hit the ground running and is making as much advantage as he can, from being introduced early.
Dr. Koh, who came from humble beginnings, has been positioned as a son of Punggol.
I was born in Punggol, and I spent my early childhood actually in Lorong Ching Lim, in the farmhouse over there. I remember I used to play in the pigsties and chicken coops that the family kept at the time. I often run to the rubber plantation behind the house, pick up rubber seeds.
Though there was some criticism that he was trying to milk his humble beginnings for sympathy votes, Dr. Koh quickly denied this.
At the end of the day, if the residents feel that I'm not the best person, please do not give me any sympathy votes. I do not need sympathy. I have never been ashamed of my past. Not that it's something that you need to be proud of. This is me.
Perhaps this is a signal, a sign that PAP is quite prepared to send somebody new without the baggage, so that he can define the campaign himself. He can define his personalities, which could be more amenable to the people of Punggol. And having somebody, although new, but having all the right credentials and qualities that PAP looks for, but more importantly, having somebody who perhaps can identify with the people on the ground, and he comes from Punggol, will be clearly signals a new kind of selection criteria that PAP may want to look at in the future.
The Workers' Party announced on Monday that it is fielding 34-year-old Li Lian. Ms. Li ran against Michael Palmer in the 2011 general election.
I think for strategic reasons, there is Ms. Li obviously is a very good choice. I mean, one is that it could increase Workers' Party's head count in Parliament to 9. If they were to field an NCMP, the head count would remain at 8 MPs. And when you think about the effect of having a second woman MP from the opposition ranks, I think that has a tremendous boost, right, in terms of WP wanting to reach out to women members, trying to reach out to potential women candidates, and of course, reaching out to women voters.
Meanwhile, 3 other opposition parties, the Singapore Democratic Party or SDP, the Singapore Democratic Alliance, SDA, and the Reform Party have said they will contest as well. After the break, is a multi-cornered fight necessarily a bad thing?
In my view, that a larger number of political parties taking part shows a number of things that we are more matured, we allow that.
On Monday, the Workers' Party, or WP, said that 34-year-old sales trainer Li Lian will be their choice candidate for the by-election. Ms. Li contested the single-member constituency in the 2011 general elections.
It was my maiden election, and I must say that the experience was very fulfilling and enriching for me. It was a natural decision that when the seat became open, I would want to take the opportunity to serve the residents of Punggol East.
A look at the electoral map will show that Punggol East SMC sits right next to Hougang SMC and Aljunied Group Representation Constituency. For those who analyse the Workers' Party and its strategies, a win in Punggol East would allow the party a chance to achieve economies of scale in managing a larger geographic area.
I see, that strategy as, in a way, again, right, the Workers' Party trying to show voters that they are a force to be reckoned with, right? So a voter living in an adjacent constituency to a WP1, would be able to see how the estate is being managed, would be able to speak to voters living in a WP constituency, and they believe that they can do a good job, and that in itself, would be a tremendous reputation booster, right? The word of mouth. But it seems to be, in alignment with Workers' Party's larger strategy of, focusing on one part of the island, rather than spreading themselves thin.
After the by-election date was announced, the Singapore Democratic Party, or SDP, had proposed a possible coalition with the Workers' Party. The idea that an SDP candidate be fielded in a joint campaign. The SDP proposed that if the candidate won, the SDP candidate would represent voters in Parliament, but the Workers' Party would run the Town Council's daily operations. Town councils are a form of local government and manage residents' needs on the ground. They are responsible for all forms of municipal needs and finances. The SDP failed to get a buy-in.
The Workers' Party has not replied to SDP's invitation to discuss our party's participation in the Punggol East by-election. We are disappointed that we were unable to get together with the WP.
We want to make sure that our candidates, when they are elected, they are prepared to work and they can connect to the people. And not just go to Parliament and talk. But you have to do your work on the ground. You have to run the town council and you have to really go to the ground, solve people's problems when you are elected.
For the Workers' Party here, I would say that, they are very mindful that they want to reinforce the image that they are a part of the opposition. But at the same time, they also want to differentiate themselves. They want to say that although we are one part of the opposition, we are also somewhat apart from the others, not like the others.
As the opposition parties start to stake their claims even before nomination day, a multi-cornered fight looms for the Punggol East by-election.
Be it four-corner or more or independent candidates, I don't see that as a problem really. And I think it only, in my view, that a larger number of political parties taking part shows a number of things that we are more matured, we allow that.
However many candidates stroll through these gates on nomination day, political pundits believe that, regardless of how small the ward is, this is an important election for the ruling party. If the PAP loses, it won't just be losing a seat. The loss may be perceived as continued unhappiness with the government, despite the many changes and attempts to meet Singaporeans' concerns since the last general election. For the opposition, this by-election may reinforce the disparate and diverse nature of opposition parties in Singapore and demonstrate which form of opposition politics Singaporeans want.
Yes, definitely. I will believe with more competition, it will definitely be good for this SMC, because I believe if the stronger ones gets the vote, then definitely will benefit the SMC.
I will see the credential of each candidate and make a decision clearly. Actually, whether it's a multi-corner fight, because Singapore is a democratic society, they all have their choices to come forward to serve the people. But eventually it's up to us to consider the candidate carefully.
Punggol East voters like 35-year-old Daniel represent the future younger electorate, unencumbered by past loyalties, more demanding and perceptive of what they want and considered in decision-making.
Well,
it's a clean chance for all parties. But voters will consider of what has happened in the past. So naturally, the good has been the PAP has done well, but then there's also the wider issues that the voters need to decide. And of course, to be fair, this will really be the tip for most voters. What are some of the national issues that will have an impact on the local issues?
So can a by-election today really be about local issues and not about national issues? Given such a connected population and a small electorate on a small island, it really is hard to separate the national from the local. Politicians and parties today have to deliver their messages in a more sophisticated manner to meet the demands of more sophisticated viewers.